Hello, hello, friends. Here we are back to our Koriko journey. Today we are going through our 2-day flight from our home in Gristhorpe with Kestrel and Lavender, the three-eyed mink, to the city of Koriko, where we will be spending one full year honing our skills, testing our mettle, and trying to make a difference in a new town. Um, so as a recap, last time we streamed was 2 weeks ago, and we met our young witch, Kestrel, a 16-year-old, hot-headed, passionate young witch who wants to be more reliable and to prove herself on this year-long pilgrimage away from her home and the guidance of her Baba Jackdaw. Um, so she is going to Koriko for a year to spread her wings, both literally and physically, and literally and metaphysically. Um, as a bit of a recap as well, we learned about something called glyphs in this world, which are a bit like magical creatures purely made of energy, and depending on their color, they can be considered good luck or little decorations, or they can be kind of dangerous depending on how strong they are. In our last entries, Kestrel failed to collect a black glyph from the temple near her home, leaving Baba Jackdaw to do the work herself while she left the city of Gristhorpe. So, to begin with, we are going to roll our reflection and our encounter for the first day of our flight. So let's dive right into it, shall we? So we rolled a 5 for our encounter and a 3 for our reflection. So I'm going to include these here, this way I can refer back to them as we're typing. So for our encounter, ahead you see a rustic building with smoke gently rising from it. What beautiful landscape surrounds it? It's a popular rest stop for travelers, all warm smiles. What services are they famous for offering? And as far as our reflection goes, I think this one's pretty neat actually. You're going to meet a lot of new people this year. What kind of first impression do you hope to make? So let's begin our first entry, shall we? Okay. In flight, I spot the smoke rising from an old tavern building. It's surrounded by fields of wheat and other farmlands. Hilly and settled into the landscape around it. A river runs along the side of the tavern, feeding into what looks like a watermill of some kind. Um, Even from above in the sky, I can see that there are other patrons coming in and out of the tavern. What is this place? Why is it so busy? There's nothing else around except farmland for miles as far as I've seen. Do you think we should check it out? I turned my attention to Lavender, who's poked his head out of the pocket of my hoodie to peer down at the new scenery around us. He has, admittedly, been sleeping for most of the journey, but I can't blame him. For a lot of today, it's been a lot of farmland and treetops and not much of interest otherwise. Better not. We should keep flying. We're going to check it out. That decided, I tip my broom downward, and we descend steadily to check out the new place we found. Lavender, grumpily, ducks back into my hoodie. But that's okay. He's with me, even if he's begrudging about it. And what trouble could I get into in a place like this, right? As my feet touch the ground, for the first time since this morning. No, for the first time since I left Bristhorpe last night, I feel a little anxious. I haven't met many people outside of Bristhorpe. Occasionally, a traveler will come to visit Baba Jackdaw, and I met them in the course of business, but never like this. This is a place full of new people, new faces, and new names, and none of them know me. I'm a little scared of what to expect. At home, I knew the people I would see in our tavern. What kind of impression do I want to make? Do I burst in boisterously? Do I try to sneak in and be unseen so I can observe the people inside first? Here's my problem. I'm not just Kestrel. Not just Kestrel Larkspur. I'm also a witch in training. There are some of us, of course, but magic is not as prevalent as it used to be. Seeing a witch in training, at the very least, gets stares, if not outright animosity, depending on the area. I want my first impression to be good. I want to show people that I am a good person, a good witch, and that there's no need to fear what I can do, because it's all done in the effort of helping people. Hi, Natchan! Standing here in front of the tavern, I realize I am clutching my broom as if I can hide behind it like I used to hide behind Mom's legs. There's nothing to do but to go forward. So, let's go forward. Inside the tavern, it's loud. It's so loud in here. I can barely hear myself think. Music, somewhere, drifts under the cacophony of clinking plates and glasses and cups, chatter from the locals, shouts of ordering and attention here and there. I don't know what I expected seeing how many people were coming in and going out, I don't think it was this. I shy towards a corner so I can observe, watch, but I'm immediately drawing attention. I guess a young girl carrying a broom in the middle of the day kind of draws attention. Well, nothing to do but go forward, right? I approach the bar of the tavern, climb up into one of the wooden stools perched there, and try to confidently order some breakfast. Excuse me? I am not loud enough to be heard over the cacophony. Excuse me? I try again. This time, more than one head turns towards me. Some of them look amused. A few startled. Are they laughing at me? Are they amused by the volume of a young girl, or are they startled by the sight of me? I look pretty normal, I think. I've tried to dress down for travel, but magic lingers. Sort of like a scent. There's really no looking at me and not noticing that I'm a witch. I wave with stained fingers that can never truly be clean after all the spells I've cast, and smile sheepishly. Sorry. A heavy set woman approaches from behind the bar. And without me saying anything, sets down a plate of, well, breakfast. Are you old enough to drink less? The woman asks. Oh, tea, usually? I don't... I've never drank anything harder than that, I admit, tugging the plate closer. Despite not ordering it, it looks delicious. Thick slabs of bacon, a few eggs, perfectly crisp toast. This is exactly what I needed, without even realizing it. Even Lavender pokes his head out, stealing a piece of bacon from my fingers before I can object. Hey, alright. Give me a moment. Then something amazing happens. She ducks down, pulls out a cup, and sets it in front of me. And it's empty. I figure it'll take time to brew tea. No big deal, and besides, I have plenty of food to put away now. But she doesn't leave. She stands there, hands on the bar, staring at the cup, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this bubble appears. She's a witch. This tavern is owned by a witch. The bubble grows, first clear like water, but then slowly darkening in color, until it's the perfect brown of a good morning tea. Then it drops into the cup, splashing a bit. But tea, all the same. That's amazing! I can't help but exclaim. Bewildered and excited and charmed. I've never seen magic like that before. Ah, well, you learn a few things running a place like this, the woman says, and she smiles. She smiles, nods to the plate and the tea. Eat up, lass. You've a long travel ahead of you, don't you? Need plenty of energy for the flight. Oh, yeah, thank you. I'm going to Koriko. But as I start to talk, the woman is already bounding away to attend to orders further down the bar. It's okay. I didn't really come in to have conversation. Didn't really come in with any intention at all, to be honest. This is nice. I pluck up my plate and my tea, and I find a place at a table near the window so I can settle and enjoy myself. It's amazing how much time can pass when you're just watching people. I wound up spending a couple hours this morning in this tavern, just enjoying the company. Some people gave me a wide berth, although I couldn't tell if that was because I was a stranger or a witch. Considering who runs this place, I imagine it's the former. In any case, after a hearty breakfast, I paid for my meal and my tea, which was perfect, just like I'd make it at home. The long way. And Lavender and I left the tavern, striking out again on our path to Koriko. Okay. I think that is a good stopping point for this entry. I was kind of hoping we would get that prompt, to be honest, when I looked through them. I had this idea in my head of this little tucked away building in the middle of nowhere. If you've ever gone on long car rides or road trips, I'm sure you've seen places like this where they're the only point of civilization in what is otherwise wilderness, and they're always strangely comforting to see that touch of humanity in a place that is, for the most part, devoid of life, or at least devoid of the hustle and bustle of human life, even though it may be quite active in terms of wilderness. So, that is our first day on our flight to Koriko. We now get to do this again, where we set up entry 8 with our encounter and our reflection. As you've noticed, unlike last time, I am trying to work the reflections into the same entry as the encounter so that it becomes one cohesive entry together. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this for all of them. For some, it may make more sense for the reflection to be a separate entry, but for now, that's how we're going to play this. So, let's roll again and see what entries we get for our encounter and our reflection. Whoa, that dice ran away from me. I got double 2s on that one. So let's see. For our encounter, 2 is midair, you meet another witch, well established in the town you're passing over. What important job are they returning from? How are they just like you, and how do they set themselves apart? And for our reflection, oh, okay. How has your familiar adjusted to life on the road? It's their first time away from home, too. Huh. I think in this case, yeah, we can work that into the same entry. So I'm gonna write these out just so I can keep them kind of in mind as I'm going. Midair, you meet another witch, well established in the town you're passing over. What important job are they returning from? How are they just like you, and how do they set themselves apart? And for our reflection, let's go back again. How has your familiar adjusted to life on the road? It's their first time away from home, too. Okay. Let's see. How do we begin this? The next day, after sleeping under the open stars and treetops, we're in flight again and passing over a little town when I see a blur heading towards us in the sky. It's too big to be a bird, and I brace myself because the speed by which they're flying, this witch is certainly in a rush. As they blitz by me, I can almost make out some features. A torn cloak, wild, fiery hair, and what I think might be a cat clinging to the broom as it whips by. Well, that was strange. Do you think they're okay? I ask Lavender, who peers out to examine the scene around me and watches the witch flying past us towards the town. Maybe we should see if they need help? I'm sure they're fine, Lavender tries, but I've already turned our broom to go after the witch. It seems like I wasn't the only one who had that idea, because the witch, who had only seconds ago been in such a rush, has stopped short and turned around to face me. Hi! She's shouting and waving now, so she must not be in that much of a rush. Hey! I fly closer, and upon further inspection, I think she's a witch in training like me. She's wearing an old cloak, tattered at the edges, and buttoned together with a gold pin that I recognize as a symbol of the armory. She must be one of the witches in training from the larger cities, because you don't get pendants like that in places like Gristhorpe. Not that I mind. Cloaks aren't really my thing anyway. You're new, yeah? The witch asks. I nod, smiling. I'm Kestrel. Flying to Koriko. Are you from here? I point down at the little sleepy town below us. It reminds me of home. It's small, but busy. I can see the people wandering the streets, no doubt on their own business. Lavender eyes it too, and smiles. Hey, we could stop here. It seems like it's home. But they already have a witch in training. I point out to Lavender. He grumbles but agrees and curls back up in my hoodie. You've got a mink? The witch asks, excited to see my familiar. Oh, how's he doing? I remember my first flight from home. Richter really hated it. He's not a fan of flying. Behind her, I see the raised fur of a cat as he settles on the end of her broom again, grooming himself to flatten his fur. I'd be fine with flying if you flew like a sane person, the cat meows. Don't mind Richter. He's always grumpy. The witch smiles and holds out a hand, and I take it, shaking it. I'm Sylvia. I'm the witch in training here. You said you're going to Koriko? That's a huge city. Bet you'll find a lot of witches in training there. Maybe. That's kind of what I'm hoping. New faces, new experiences. I smile. Sheepish. Are you okay? You were in kind of a rush. Huh? Oh, sure. Sylvia pulls out a glass vial, swirling with the energy of... Is that... She's holding a bronze glyph in that vial. Gotta get this little guy back to the armory before he breaks out again. I've gone through 3 vials trying to capture this little guy. He's gonna make someone a very good familiar. Or, well, a very dangerous pet. We'll see. Wait. Glyphs can become familiars? What do you mean, familiars? Oh, it's a new technique the armory is trying. Some glyphs are intelligent, or intelligent enough. They kind of act like pets. Some of the witches on the High Council are trying to see if they're intelligent enough to serve as familiars. Some of these stronger ones, they'd be crazy allies. Crazy good allies. Huh. I'd never heard of using a glyph that way. They were always seen as benign and simple or dangerous. Never useful or even helpful. So, yeah. Sylvia smiles wider and gestures. Like I said, I've got to get back. But you should come visit. There's a bakery here and an amazing cafe. It serves the best hot cocoa I've ever had. And I've been to 3 towns before I settled here. What's this place called? I can't help but grin. She's infectious in her excitement. Watercress. Like the green. You should come by and visit. You know, after you've gotten settled and everything. I'm always happy to have friends. Especially fellow witches in training. You know I'm the only one here. It's a far cry from the academy. You're an academy witch? Academy witches are rare to see in the field. It tends to be a straight shot to the council, but it means they rarely leave their towers. a lot of research and, I guess, schmoozing goes into it, because they're almost never out in the field the way we are. Huh. Or the way I was told we are. I don't know. Maybe my view on witches has been stunted by Baba Jackdaw. There's a whole world out here I never expected. Could she also not know about the Council's actions? About the Academy witches in the field? It's a lot to think about. And I'll certainly have plenty to write home about. Sylvia smiles, and almost quicker than I can catch, she tosses something at me. A little pouch. Some herbs for the road. Sylvia smiles. Something to help you sleep. That was the hardest part for me when I left home. Nothing was ever as comfy as my own bed. But it helps. Good luck in Koriko. Okay? Be sure to visit and let me know all about it. Yeah, okay. I smile and pocket the pouch, tucking it in beside Lavender. Thanks, Sylvia. It was nice to meet you. She smiles and nods, and then, just like before, she is off like a dart, flying down into the city of Watercress. I hover in the air and watch her go. A little entertained by the black puffball at the end of her broom. Glad I don't make you fly like that, huh, Lav? I'd like to see you try, Lavender grumbles. He climbs out of my pocket, though, and perches on the broom, much like Richter did, taking in the view. This is a nice place. I don't see why we can't settle here. I told you, we're going to Koriko. It's where we're meant to be. I smile and gently poke at him. You're not worried, are you? About the city? Lavender grumps. It's a big place. It'll be loud and dirty, and there'll be all kinds of people. It's not like home. We knew those smelly people. He looks up at me then, and considers me with one of the rare serious faces I've seen on him. Are you sure you're ready for this? Are you? I fire back. Not unkindly, but certainly not kindly. Not unkindly, but certainly not kind. We've had all year to prepare for this. It's time for us to go, Lav. We're not gonna learn any more under Baba Jackdaw unless we start to see the world and what it needs. I was afraid you'd say that. Lavender sighs and crawls back into the pocket. You know, I miss home, he admits. Me too. I pet him through the pocket. turning my broom to steer us further out to Koriko. But we'll find another one. I promise. Wherever I am, that's home for you. I'm home for you too. Under a breeze, already starting to doze off in my pocket. Okay. I think that's a good entry for here. And that finishes our journey. So our next entry is going to be arriving in Koriko. Somehow, you found the place, your new home, Koriko. So for this entry, we're going to choose an approach and a welcome and create an entry with those prompts. And then we get to our first letter, which is our first letter home to Baba Jackdaw. So, like before with our departure, this is not a case where we roll a dice. We're actually going to pick these prompts. So, we have 4 approaches and 4 welcomes that we can work with. So let me just set this up real quick. Approaches and welcome. So, our first approach could be guided by nature. You feel the flow of the terrain channel you forward, and then ahead of you, all at once, is the city. What natural feature frames the metropolis? How does its architecture reflect the landscape? When you rest for the night, what natural shelter do you make use of? We also have led by crowds. You begin to note the markers of urban life below you. What kinds of people can you see drawn to the city like a beacon? What novel sound or scents take you by surprise as you get closer? When you rest for the night, what group of travelers lets you stay with them? There's drawn to the buzz. The city is a noisy, messy hive of activity, industry and commerce in ever-shifting patterns. It's all so much bigger and busier than you could have expected. What's the largest machines you can see? When you rest for the night, what vehicle do you sleep within? And finally, there is taken by surprise. Despite its size, you almost fly straight past the city. How does it blend in with the current surrounding environment? You pause to take a closer look. What alerts you to the bustling city concealed within? When you rest for the night, what hidden sanctuary do you discover? Now, last stream, we had set a couple of intentions for the city that we hoped to find in Koriko. And I think based on those expectations, our best option is either guided by nature or drawn to the buzz. And for the city of Koriko, which we have imagined as a sort of fantastical Venice with roads and bridges interconnecting a city that is built onto a large lake, I think guided by nature makes the most sense for our entry to the metropolis. So, guided by nature. Feel the flow of the train channeling forward. Then ahead of you, all at once, is the city. What natural features frame the metropolis? How does its architecture reflect the landscape? When you rest for the night, what natural shelter do you make use of? And now for our welcome, this is going to be how we are perceived as we enter the city. So there is curiosity, indifference, apprehension, or chaos. For curiosity, you have the people you've met so far have mostly been curious about you and your witchy background. How many decades has it been since the last time a witch visited Koriko? What aspect of your powers are they most keen to ask questions about, and what do they misunderstand? This, I think, we can kind of get rid of, because the the way that we're imagining Koriko, very much it is a metropolis, and so it is very likely in our world that witches have gone through Koriko, even though they might not have stayed long term. So, curiosity is an interesting one, but I think that I'm leaning more towards apprehension or chaos. But let's read through them and see. For indifference, people here are so busy they hardly notice you. When you're flying around on your broom, nobody looks up. What all-consuming fixations are most people focused on instead? Despite this, what familiar tradition is still seemingly honored? There's apprehension. People shut their windows and avert their eyes when you walk down the street. You manage to talk to someone long enough to learn why. How did the last witch who lived here get things so wrong? When was this? What physical mark of their misused power still lingers? And finally, there's chaos. You really try to make a good first impression, but this place is so different from your village. What terrible mistake do you make in front of a huge crowd? You work hard to make amends, but the damage is done. What unkind moniker do you later learn the local media has given you? I think in playing this story out more, I want to go with apprehension and build up a story of the last witch to live in Koriko and what she's done to the city. Yeah, let's do that. Apprehension. Shut their windows, avert their eyes when you walk down the street. You manage to talk to someone long enough to learn why. How did the last witch who lived here get things so wrong? When was this? What physical mark of their misused power still lingers? All right, let's build our city and let's welcome ourselves home. After 2 days of flying, we're here. The terrain around the city of Koriko is mountainous, as if the city itself is cupped in the hands of the very world. Within the valley of these two mountains is a massive lake, larger than anything I've ever seen. And built onto this lake is the city of Koriko. It is a floating metropolis with stone bridges and pathways that allow for walking, but I can't imagine very much travel by machinery. I fly down closer, excited to greet the people of Koriko and be welcomed as their witch in training, but that's not what happens. As I land, there is a sense of tension. The crowd of people give me a wide berth as I land and pick up my broom. I try to smile to put them at ease. How hard can it be? But they're all still tense, still watching me as if waiting for something. But I don't know what. When nothing happens, besides my outstretched hand going unshook, the people slowly disperse, still watching me, as if I'm going to snap, as if something bad is going to happen. But eventually they leave me, standing on the stone pathway into the city of Koriko from the edge of the lake. Well, That's not what I expected. Lavender hums in agreement, and clambers up to drape across my shoulders for a better vantage point. They all seem scared. You got that too, huh? What could they be scared of? Not me, surely. I'm just a witch in training. And the city invited me here. Why would they do that if there's such an animosity towards the city, towards the witches? I start to walk further into the city, and it is a sprawling thing. The paths lead further in, and the lake almost seems to be holding the city up, but the city is stretching beyond the borders of the lake. There is the sound of music that seems to float through the city from speakers I spy on the occasional corner. It's a gentle litany, as if an orchestra is slowly waking from a nap and stretching themselves out before a grand performance. As I walk, I see a marketplace and veer my way into it to explore further. There's still the sense of apprehension around me, this tension as if at any moment I'm going to burst and, I don't know, blow up the city? Turn people into frogs? I really don't know what they're expecting. At best, I can hold my breath underwater, like a fish. I'm not really the doom and gloom kind of witch. In any case, this market is incredible. There are so many vibrant colors of tents pitched up along a large bridge that seems to be the center of the city. Vendors call out, trying to get the attention of passers-by. I can smell fresh baked bread and sweet rolls. I can hear the hiss of machinery making what I think is coffee, though it smells so different. What is that? Excuse me? I approach one of the vendors selling this strange liquid concoction. Uh, what are you selling? Hmm? The old man perks behind his stool, and for the first time since arriving, I don't get a sense that he's afraid of me. He fixes the spectacles on his face, peers at me through them, and hums again. Koriko sells the finest of cocos, he explained. It's one of our primary exports, you know. Well, you must be new. I haven't seen you before. Witches aren't exactly a dime a dozen around here. Yeah. Smile sheepishly, and as I'm pulling out coins for a cup of cocoa, I try to explain further. I was invited to come here. My name's Kestrel. I'm supposed to be the new witch for Koriko. Ah, so they finally tried it, huh? I imagine that council of yours took quite some time to convince the people to allow it, but they did, and, well, don't take it so personally. He's talking as he pours me a cup of what might be the thickest cocoa I've ever seen. It's almost like a warm pudding consistency. And he hands it to me with a spoon. So maybe that is what it is. More pudding than cocoa. Weird. Our last witch. Oh. That was decades and decades ago now. Well, Koriko wasn't always built on a lake, you know. He explains, handing me the cup. There you are now, little one. Go on, try it. Let me know how good it is. I'm one of the best cocoa makers in the city. I feel like all of the vendors are going to say that. But I try it anyway. It's warm and a little bitter, but sweet all the same. It's delicious. I've never had anything like it. The first couple sips are deeply chocolatey and all at once it feels like I'm being wrapped in a warm blanket and cuddled by a fire. The warmth settles deep in me, in my stomach, and spreads outwards, relaxing me whether I want to or not. This is incredible, I say slowly, staring down at the concoction. That is not magic, but must be on some level to have such a reaction. Mm-hmm. I told ya. Best cocoa maker in the city. The old man smiles. You mentioned the last witch and something about the lake? Hmm? Ah, yes. Yes, yes. He nods solemnly. And if he had a hat, I have a feeling he'd have taken it off out of respect. Tylvie. What do we want to name this witch? I do want it to be a teen name. Tylvie's too close to Sylvie, but I like Tylvie. Tylvie Typhoon. At least, that's what everyone's called her. Since it happened. Since what happened? I pressed gently, trying to ascertain just how hard a job this is going to be. If people don't trust witches, why would they come to me for help with their problems? How am I supposed to help if no one will trust me? Well, I was just a boy when it happened. Not much younger than you, but still just a child. One day, Koriko sat where it had been for centuries and centuries, floating above the world, on a cloud of mist and air. We were one of the first airborne cities. Let's see. But now there's only one left, and no one really talks about that place anymore. I know the place he speaks of. It's home to the High Council. And it's rumored to only be a city of witches. No one talks about it much, because no one's ever gone there and come back. Sylvia was the first academy witch I've ever met, and I thought they all stayed in the city. City of witches. Anyway, one day, Koriko fell, said, shrugging as if it were just a matter of the weather. But a city the size of Koriko now, falling out of the sky. How did I not know this? Is this common history? Does Baba Jackdaw not know this story? Tylvie Typhoon. He tuts and shakes his head. He tutted and shook his head. They say that she was heartbroken. Her heart broke the city. The magic that kept us above failed, and the city fell. Too many people died that day. No one's seen or heard from Tylvie Typhoon since. No wonder everyone's afraid of me. I say slowly. The city relied on one witch to keep it floating. That's incredible. The sheer power there. The power and the arrogance. Men agreed. Relying on just one person to keep a whole city afloat. What did they expect? Eventually, the city rebuilt itself on the lake here. But you can sometimes see bits of the ruins below us, if you dive deep enough. And everyone remembers that day, even if most of us hadn't lived it. I nod slowly, frowning, and finish my cocoa. Thank you for telling me, sir. It's hopeful to know what I'm up against. Smile, set the cup back down, and for the cocoa. Oh, don't you worry, little one. You just come back anytime. I'll be here. He winked, and I smiled and wandered away from the vendor. Almost in a daze. Tylvie Typhoon held a city in the air, and when her heart broke, it fell. People died. The city had to have been destroyed, if ruins sit beneath the lake. But they rebuilt it anyway. They rebuilt it onto this lake, taking over the natural structures and turning this into a sprawling, beautiful city. Why would they ask for a witch now? It takes some time for me to find a place to bed down for the night. But I luck out. There's a small cottage that seems to have been abandoned for several years. If the sheer amount of cobwebs and rats is anything to go by. It's tucked away in the corner of a main road. Almost forgotten. It sticks out like a sore thumb. Like a beacon. Inside is warm and it's dry. Although not necessarily warm. But it'll do for a few days until I can meet with the mayor and find out where I'm supposed to stay. It'll do for a few days and find out where I'm supposed to stay, and, well, it'll do for a few days until I can figure out where I'm supposed to stay. I suppose I'll have to meet with the mayor. Maybe he can give me more information on Tylvie. The cottage takes most of the day to clean up and make it livable, if not ideal. The bed is shaken out, cleaned up, and the broom doubles as a nice, well, broom in the absence of cleaning supplies. I get a few strange looks as I'm cleaning out this cottage, but I try to ignore them. It's not like I'm exactly blending in here. By the end of the day, I've turned this little place, little hovel, into a temporary home for me and Mom. Together, we curl up in the bed as a fire burns beside us, floating in the air for warmth and light without touching anything that might catch fire. And I grab my journal. It's time to start recording my travels. Actually, that's not correct. And I grab a stationery kit. It's time to write home, now that I'm here. And this will go into our first letter home. So, this is kind of a cool system here. So, with our rest and letter, we are going to do a couple different things. First, we rest. As you reach the end of departure, take a moment to pause. Rest for 30 seconds. Consider the ambitions you have for your year ahead and the experiences that might help you realize them. Then you may write a new lesson that captures those feelings. Lessons are recorded in our journal, and they impact the, I guess you could say, stats of our witch. So we'll write that lesson together. And then we write our first letter. So let's begin with lesson 1. Having learned about Tylvie Typhoon and the reputation she has left behind in Koriko, Kestrel has her work cut out for her in order to fix what has been broken in the past and prove that she can be trusted to be the city's witch. Already, she is seeing herself in a bit of a crossroads. Whatever actions she takes, she has to consider if it's only going to be 1 year that she's in the city, and so she gives herself quite a short timeline to fix what is wrong. Or is she going to stay in Koriko? Is she going to become the city's witch and try to mend what has been broken in the wake of Tylvie's and the city's fall from grace? Lesson 1. How do we want to word this? A witch should, above all else, do good. Hi, Kron! Sorry about that. Not sure what happened there. I think my internet might have hiccuped for a brief moment. Um, as I was saying, we have this new lesson, and that I think is going to be one of the core tenets of Kestrel's time in Koriko. Remembering that above all else, she's here to do good and to do right by the city. So, now that we have our first lesson out of the way, we are going to write our first letter home to Baba Jackdaw. So, first we read the coda and then we choose 2 reflections to include in our letter. So, the coda I've kind of addressed in the end of our entry, but we will go over it again. Humble roof. You found your new home, but you're still finding your feet. What temporary accommodations have you managed to secure? You're perfectly safe, but it's far from perfect. What frustrations do you have to deal with every day? And why won't you be able to stay here all year? And then we pick 2 reflections. Our options for reflections are journey, why here, advice, small talk, or fiction. For the journey, we have your journey to Koriko was long. What or who was the most memorable about your travel? What do you miss about the open road? Why here? As soon as you saw Koriko, you knew it was perfect. How were you sure it was right for you? What has chipped that confidence already? Advice. Back home, someone gave you some advice. How has it already been proven useful? And how do you worry it might get you into trouble? Small talk. Write something trivial about the flora or fauna you saw while traveling. What embarrassment or truth are you avoiding bringing up? Or fiction. Make up something interesting or impressive that happened on your journey. What do you hope your mentor will feel when reading it? Based on the story that we've been telling so far, I think the 2 reflections that make sense are why here and small talk. Because we've learned that there is a bigger world out there than Kestrel has known about, not just in terms of the world itself, but in the terms of the world of witchcraft. What she thought was a dying art is being served by the High Council, and they're making strides towards improving how glyphs are used in the world. Not to mention, upon her arrival to Koriko, she has learned that she is the first witch to arrive in the city and be welcomed in decades, following the fall of the original city of Koriko from the sky. There's a lot going on here, and she's not quite sure how to take it. So I think she's going to dance around it in her entry to Baba Jackdaw. So, let's start our letter. Baba, we're here! I've arrived in the city of Koriko, and it's exactly what I hoped. The city is built onto the lake in a valley. So it's full of small pathways and bridges interconnected together. It's loud and it's loud and bold and colorful. The markets are like rainbows with tents of all different hues strung together. They serve something called Koriko Cocoa, and it's kind of like a pudding. It tastes so good, and it feels like you're sitting in a fireplace as you eat it. I know I was invited to come to Koriko, and I'm glad for it, but Baba, there's a history here that I didn't know about. Did you know about Tylvie Typhoon? About the original city of Koriko and its descent from the sky? They don't trust witches here, and I can't blame them. I don't know how I'm supposed to change that. I'm just me. I'm a kid. Maybe I took this journey too soon. Anyway, um, I wanted to tell you about these flowers I saw on the way here. Uh, we stopped at a tavern run by a witch named... Oh, I didn't get her name. But maybe you've heard of it. She serves tea but she summons it. She doesn't make it the long way like we do. Anyway, after I left the tavern, it was growing dark, so I was looking for a place to sleep for the night. And then I saw them. They were glowing flowers, Baba. I've never seen glowing flowers outside of the temple. And these ones weren't the same colors. In the temple, they're always blues and greens and colors like that, but these ones glowed red and yellow, like the whole field was on fire once the sun went down. It was nice. So I slept out in the open, under the sky, and in this field of fiery glowing flowers. I drew a couple. I've included the drawing here. Maybe you know them. If you think they'll be of any use, please let me know. I didn't think to collect any, but it's only a few days from Koriko to get back to that field. What embarrassing truth are you trying to avoid bringing up? I think I'm not sure how to write this into the entry. Yes, I am. I know what I'm gonna do. Baba, I feel like I'm going to fail here. I expected to be one of many witches in training in the city of Koriko, to find a community and friends and even a family here. But I'm the only one. And they don't even trust me. They don't trust witches. They look at me like I'm going to snap and blow up the city. What am I supposed to do? What would you do? There's the sound of tearing paper as Kestrel rips off the bottom portion of the letter that has her fears attached to it. She scrunches the paper up and she throws it into the fire, where it burns away. The words are gone. The fear remains. I hope you're doing well, Baba. Please tell Dad I'm okay. And I'll send gifts next time I write. I love you all very much. Be safe. I'll see you all soon. Love and kisses, Kestrel. I wonder if there's a way that I can... I bet you there is. Okay. So, I think that was the best way, and that might be something that happens further and further into the entries as Kestrel begins to hide and grow into herself. These little entries where Kestrel has unveiled a truth and then removes that truth from the final letter that goes to Baba Jackdaw. And with that, this finishes Volume 1, The Departure, for our story to Koriko. Going forward, we will be exploring the year we spend in Koriko and how this changes our young witch and how we maybe change the city itself. I'm going to end the stream here so that we can begin our first season in Koriko next week. Thank you all for coming and joining us on this adventure. Next week will probably be a bit of a longer stream because we will be working through the full season. But for now, we will end here. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you all have an amazing Saturday. Talk soon. Bye.